Hello, am I audible? Someone please reply.
Yes, sir.
Hello? Okay, fine. So this is our next experimental setup, that is the thermal conductivity of metal rod. We are having a copper rod over here of certain given length and certain diameter. And in this setup, we are going to find out the thermal conductivity of copper rod. You know, thermal conductivity of copper is the highest, I'll say the second highest among pure materials after silver. But that too, again, the thermal conductivity of copper or say any of the material depends upon the purity of that material, depends upon the temperature and many other parameters. So at this environmental condition, what is the thermal conductivity of that copper rod that we are going to calculate? And the setup is ready over here. So let me tell you what is there into the setup. We have a copper rod of given length, that is total length of the copper is about 350 mm, whereas the actual length of the copper rod which is under observation and at which we are going to measure the temperature at different location, that is of 200 mm only. Additional part on both the ends is for heating the copper rod at one end, and at another end there is cooling water provided to extract the heat from the copper rod. Actual length of the copper rod which is under observation and at which we are going to observe the temperature variation along the length of the copper rod, that is of only 200 mm. So here in this housing we are having a copper rod. At this end there is a cooling water jacket, and at another end which is there into this compartment we are having one electrical heater. That electrical heater is fitted at this end of the copper rod, and that heater will heat up one end of the first end of the copper rod. Let us say that end as the first end of the copper rod and this end as the second end. This is not the copper rod, but there is, inside it there is a copper rod. So this end is the first end of the copper rod and this is the second end. At first end we have fitted one electrical heater to heat up that end, and the heat will be transmitted through the rod along the axial length, not in the radial direction. Since we have fitted insulating powder, the insulating powder has been filled surrounding to the copper rod. In case if this is the copper rod, then the surrounding to it there is insulating powder, so that there will not be any heat transfer in the radial direction as there is the insulating material. This end, the second end of the copper rod is provided with the cooling water. We can supply the cooling water, and that too the regulated supply of cooling water. We can control the flow rate of the cooling water with the wall over here. You can see this is the wall. This pipe is coming from the main line, and that pipe is passing the water to this end. The water will come in contact with the second end of the rod, will absorb the heat from it, and the heated water, after absorbing the heat from the copper rod, the water will get heated, and that heated water will be taken away from this pipe and is discharged to the drainage system, right? And this knob, you can see this is the wall over here, and with the aid of this wall we can control the flow rate of the water through that pipe. Next, we have fitted 9 thermocouples along the length of this copper rod at the separation distance of about 2 mm. I told you about the length of the copper rod. Effective length under observation is 200 mm, and after every 2 mm we have fitted one thermocouple to measure the temperature at that location. So along the length of this is the length of the copper rod. This is one end where the heat is provided, and this is another end where the water is taking out the heat from it. So we have fitted the different thermocouples along the length, like thermocouple number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, up to 1 to 9 thermocouples have been fitted along the length of this rod to measure the temperature at various sections. Now, how to measure the temperature at various sections? We are having a knob over here. Once we select up this knob, that knob will give, this display will give you the temperature of that particular thermocouple. So 1 to 2, 3, 4, like that, we can select this knob and we can note down the temperature corresponding to that particular thermocouple. So T1 to T9 are the thermocouples fitted along the length of the copper rod to measure the temperature at different sections at the distance of about 2 mm. T10 to T11. T10 is the thermocouple fitted over here to measure the temperature of inlet water, and T11 is the thermocouple fitted to measure the temperature of the water outlet, which is going out from the from this compartment, from this cooling jacket. So, and these are two displays are for the measurement of voltage and the current flowing through that heating coil. This is a dimmer-stat with the aid of which we can control the supply voltage to the heating coil. This dimmer-stat basically varies the resistance which is in series with this heating coil. So as we vary the resistance in series, the voltage applied across the heater will be get varied. And that vary, whatever the actual voltage which is available across the heater is over here, that is 63. I hope you can read this reading. 63 volt is the supply voltage to, not supply voltage, 63 volt is the voltage across the heating coil, and this 0.240 is the current flowing through that coil. So V into I will give you the total heat flux, or the total heat produced per unit time at one end, first end, and same has to be there taken over this side. Next, like previous case, like previous experiment, this experiment also has to be conducted under steady state condition only. If there is no steady state, there is no meaning to go for the reading, right? And to bring these readings under steady state, now you can see the temperature of some thermocouple, say T4 is right now, it is 43.5 degrees Celsius. To come from a very long time of about more than 20-30 minutes, these readings are not yet changed. It means that is under steady state condition, right? And to bring this steady state condition, I was needed to start up this setup about 1.5 hours before the actual start of the practical. Since once you start the heating of the rod at one end, it will take down the time to transfer the heat from that end to another end, and to bring the steady state condition, it takes time. And I have already done that. The only last part is of noting down the reading that is remaining. And here we are going to note down the readings of this setup. So I will show the figure. I will explain the figure in detail in the next video while explaining the calculation part. Here we will simply note down the readings. So what are the readings we need to note down? Okay, one more thing I forgot to tell you, that regarding the flow rate, we need to also measure the flow rate of water which is taking place through this pipe. Since we need to find out the heat extracted or the heat carried away by the cooling water, that also we need for the calculation. So let us take on the reading one by one. First of all, the supply voltage. The supply voltage for this one, okay, supply voltage over here is not supply voltage. Again, I'm using incorrect, inappropriate word. It's not the supply voltage. Supply voltage is obviously it is 230 volt AC supply. This voltage is belonging to the voltage available across the terminals of the heating coil. So that is 63 volt. So V is equals to, this is 63 volt is the voltage across the heating coil. The current flowing through the heating coil is 0.239. The current flowing through the coil is 0.239 ampere. Now this product of V into I has to be equal to the rate of heat carried away by the cooling water, but practically you will find like they are not equal. The reason is, even you have provided the insulating material over here, whatever the heat input rate is there, heat output rate over here are not equal. Reason, however fine insulating powder you are providing over here, there will exist somewhat heat flow in the radial direction also, so that will be the law calculation. So input, so voltage across the heater and the current flowing through the heater we have calculated. Now we will note down the readings of the thermocouples fitted over here. So what are the readings? So this is T1. Now I have set the knob at the first point, so that is giving me the temperature T1. I hope you can see this reading. So T1 is 46 degrees Celsius. Next, T2 is 44.67. It is 44.7. Now you can see that you will see that continuously temperature will go on decreasing. Since T1 is the thermocouple fitted closest to the heater and T9 is farthest from the heater. And T1 to T2, if you are going from T1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 8, 9, you are coming away and away from that heating end, the end where the heater is heating the rod. So that's why the first temperature was 46, now 44.7. Next, T3, the temperature T3 is, it is 44.3, then again there is a drop in the temperature. T4, this has to be, there is one error in the display. 43.9, this is the error, it's not the correct reading. 43.9. Next, T5, it is 43.4, 43.3. Next, T6, you can see 42 point, again 43, 42.5, let us say 42.6, 42.6. Next, T7, it is 42.4546, 42.4, let us say, it is 42.4. T8, the temperature has been dropped again, that is 41.2, 41.7, 41.6, let us say it is 41.6. And T9 is the last temperature along the copper rod. T9 is, it is 41.2. It is 41.24. It is varying in between 2 and 4. Let us take it as 41.2. So these are the temperatures along the different sections of the copper rod. Now we will move on to T10, which is the temperature of the water inlet to the cooling jacket. And that temperature, you can see it is 29.3. The temperature of water in is 29.3. And the temperature of water out, it is, you can see the temperature is getting increased. Why it is so? Since it is absorbing the heat from the copper rod, and that is 37.2. 37.2. Now, the last part which is remaining is of measurement of flow rate. Measurement of flow rate of water that we have provided to cool down the second end of the copper. And for that, we are having one measuring flask over here. We will take down that pipe into it. We will start up the stopwatch and we'll collect some water, some water, and we will note down the time needed for that much collection of water, that much volume of water. So whatever the volume of water collected divided by the time taken for that much collection of water will be the flow rate of the water. So volume flow rate, and once we get the volume flow rate, we can convert it into the mass flow rate, and mass flow rate into specific heat of water into the change in temperature of the water over here. That will be the heat carried away by the water, and that's what the heat flux is. The heat flow rate through the copper rod is, right? So let us take down that reading. And to take down that reading, we must have a stopwatch ready over here. Now I'm having a stopwatch. So you can see this is the stopwatch. Now, just a minute. Any volume of the water you can collect. No need to have one specific or 1/6 volume you have to collect. So I have directly given that pipe. Time me start. I will show you how to note down this. So I hope you can see this. This is the measuring flask, and this is the pipe through which the water is going out of it. I think you can see this water. See the water is coming out of it, which is basically we have provided to cool down this copper rod at second end. So the moment when I put down this pipe into this measuring tank, I will start the stopwatch, and after some time I will stop it, so that we can measure both the volume of the water collected and the time needed for that much collection of water. So I'm going to start it now. Started. The time has been started, and you can see the water is get collected. So any volume of water, any amount of water you can collect, no restriction on that, but same corresponding time has to be noted down. More volume you will collect, less will be the possibility of getting the error into that measurement. I'm talking about the absolute error, and both the relative error will also get reduced. And hence the error in the final calculation, that will be also get reduced. So let us take down the time of about 100 seconds. Now it's already 1 minute 30 seconds. Let us take down 1 minute 40 seconds. Yes, I have stopped it. So you can see the timing. It is 1 minute 40 seconds. I hope you can see it. Can you see this timing? Yes? Okay. For that much, within that much time, how much water is get collected? Now this is the time in which we have collected this much water. And how much is this water? So it's about 250 ml. It is about not 250. It's more than 250. 250, 270. It is 275 ml of water has been collected. I hope you can see this. I hope you can see this. This is marking over here. I don't know whether can you see it. Can you see this number? This is 250 ml. This is 300. So in between them, it is 275 ml of water we have collected, and that too within 100 seconds. So that also I am going to note down. So volume of the water collected is 275 ml, and the time needed for that much collection of water is about close to 100 seconds. Now from this volume, this is the this volume divided by the time will be the volume flow rate. So directly if I divide 275 ml by 100, so it will be 2.75 ml per second will be the volume flow rate. If you multiply it by the density, so this is all about this experiment. Calculation part I will explain, right? If you have any doubt, any question related to this, you can ask me. Any doubt? Okay, thank you then. See you in the next lecture, next practical.